What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. So I've made videos before about how to set your rate in private practice and how to tell clients that you're raising your rates. But I'm still willing to bet that many of you watching this video are long overdue to raise your rates. So in this video, I'll go over the reasons why it's important to raise your rate and name some signs that you might be long overdue to raise your rate in private practice. Welcome to Private Practice Skills. I'm Dr. Marie Fang, psychologist in private practice. I post videos offering tools I learned the hard way about starting and growing private practice so that you don't have to. Raising rates is a necessary part of the success for any business. Now, why is this? It's not that we're just greedy people and we need more money. No, this is a key point that I need to emphasize. Between inflation and growing overhead costs, if you're not raising your rate over time in private practice, then you're effectively giving yourself an hourly pay cut. Now, I know in order to convince some of you of this, I really need to drive this point home, so let's get ready to do a little math. So hypothetically, let's say back in 2010, you were charging $100 per therapy session. And given that the inflation rate averages at 3.22%, if we just do a little bit of math, then if we fast forward to 2021, after inflation, you would need to be charging $140 per session just to be charging the same dollar amount that you used to charge in 2010. That's over 40% higher than what you were charging then, just to charge the same amount of money. In addition to inflation, your expenses are inevitably higher now than they used to be. Case in point, just as recently as 2017, my full-time office used to cost me $600 per month in the city of San Jose. And now, as I'm filming this, it's December 2020, my rent for the same office is over $900 a month. In other words, I'd need to see more clients per month at the same rate just to account for cost of increased rent, let alone increases in liability insurance and other expenses that we have to account for in private practice. So I hope I've made my point by now that if you keep your rate the exact same over the years, you are effectively giving yourself a massive pay cut. I mean, just speaking in really rough, loose numbers, you probably want to consider raising your rate every year by about $5 just to account for inflation and another $5 to account for overhead costs. Keep in mind that I'm just kind of speaking in loose numbers here. I'm not trying to prescribe that every therapist needs to raise their rate yearly by $10 a session, but I'm trying to kind of put a number on top of all this math that exists behind the inflation and the overhead. By all means, feel free to do the math yourself so that you feel empowered as far as how much you'd like to raise your rate. Now, with all of this said, I know so many therapists who haven't raised their rates in like 5 or 10 years. And if that's you, just keep in mind, you've effectively given yourself a massive pay cut over the years. In other words, you're really overdue to raise your rates. So if you're still needing a little bit of convincing, here are some signs that you might be really overdue to raise your rate. Number one, you feel bitter when you charge your clients. That sensation of, I did all this work in order to help my client in this session, and now I'm only charging them X amount for it, and it doesn't sit well. That's a decent sign that you're overdue to raise your rates. Sign number two, you find yourself frequently counting your revenue for that day or for that week and feeling deflated about the amount that you're earning. Again, if you're feeling like you need to kind of always keep track of your numbers all the time, and especially if you don't feel good about it, that's a good sign that you're probably overdue to raise your rate. Sign number three, put simply, your caseload is full, but you're not happy with the income you're earning in private practice. It's probably time to raise your rate. And piggybacking off of that sign number four, you're taking on more clients than you'd prefer to work with because you're trying to increase your income. Sign number five, you find yourself complaining about how expensive your overhead costs are lately. I put this one in here because I hear this from colleagues all the time, like, oh, can you believe how much the landlord raised rent or how much it costs for liability insurance these days or whatever it is, but really that's all just scaling with inflation as well. it's probably time to just raise your rate. And sign number 6, I see all the time. You see how much a colleague is charging and you feel bitter towards them because they're charging more than you charge. Keep in mind, folks have the freedom to charge whatever they want. If clients are willing to pay that amount, they have the freedom to charge it. And you also have the freedom to charge whatever you wish to charge. So if you're feeling bitter about colleagues charging more than you, maybe evaluate if it's time to raise your rate. Notice how all of these signs have to do with how you feel. Your rate and your income are personal to you. There is no prescribed amount that every therapist should charge based on this and that experience and such. If you're charging less than colleagues around you, but you're happy with the income that you're earning, then great, keep your rate the same. That's awesome. I mean, in summary, the best sign for whether it's time to raise your rate or not is how happy you are with your income. And if you're feeling happy, great. And if you're not feeling happy, then you have the freedom to do something about it. Now, if you're needing a little bit of help figuring out where to set your rate or how to tell clients that you're raising your rate, I have videos covering both of those topics. You can determine what your ideal income is, assuming your practice is full, and basically reverse engineer what your rate should be in order to earn the income that you want. So I've linked to those videos below if you're interested in checking them out. Now, I know a lot of you watching this video heard everything I said, got the memo about not raising your rate is a pay cut. You're living in all of those signs that you're overdue for raising your rate, but you still are afraid to raise your rate because you are afraid that your clients will leave you if you raise your rate. Well, if that's a concern that you have, not to fret. I've been raising my rate every year for several years and I have lost 0 clients as a result. Some clients here and there may adjust their schedule a little bit. Let's say if we were meeting 4 times a month, maybe now they're coming in 3 times a month so that they can budget accordingly. However, no one has left because of my rate increase. So keep that in mind. You probably won't lose clients. Even if you do lose some clients, if you have the proper marketing strategy, new clients will come in at the new rate and everything will be peachy. I know how scary it is the first time, but it's probably not going to play out in reality how badly you think it's going to. And that's really all there is to say about that. I know some of you all watching are kind of like, oh shoot, I've been caught. I hope you find this encouraging though, to just feel the permission that you are allowed and encouraged to raise your rate, because again, if you're not, you're giving yourself a pay cut every year. Just keep that in mind. And before signing off, thank you to TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps you with all of your practice management needs, and speaking of raising your rates, they make it really easy to bill your clients directly as well. So once you tell your clients that you're raising your rate, it's super easy to help them stay on top of paying for their sessions. If you're interested in checking out Therapy Notes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I hope you found this video helpful, especially if you might be overdue to raise your rate in your private practice. Let me know in the comments if there are any tools that have helped you overcome some of the fears that can be related to raising your rates in private practice. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.